Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Krashy, and today we're going to be jumping into a jungle tier list. Now, I was recently asked if I could update and do a jungle tier list video, and in the past, I've mostly just put Pokemon on the tier list that I thought would be good junglers only, but I'm going to slightly do it a little bit differently. I'm going to add every Pokemon to the list. So the D tier on this list is going to be just don't jungle them. Like, that's just the simple truth about it. But CBAS, like, it's going to be just like your normal hierarchy of a tier list. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So my first pick I have on the list is Sylveon. Y'all know I like to do my own tier list thing, right? I have my own design for it and I do it in Photoshop. But Sylveon, while the character is a really great Pokemon, I think that I just don't really see this as a necessity for jungle. The jungle role can fit it just fine. You'll get that ultimate really fast at level 8, but you don't need to. The character's a good laner. Character doesn't really get crazy benefit out of being in jungle, and so it just holds its B tier position because you can do it and it's a good Pokemon. But you don't really need to jungle this Pokemon. So yeah. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Mamoswine. I actually think I feel kind of the same way about Mamoswine, if I'm being completely honest. Like, Mamoswine's not super strong, and, you know, I think tanks in the jungle, like, are fine. I may move this one down, I'm going to be honest with you, but as I'm starting off right now, this is where I'm putting it. I think tanks in the jungle are fine, like, as, like, off tanks, especially if you wanted to do, like, a full damage Mamoswine build, but there's just no real reason to jungle this. And again, this may end up skipping down to the C tier a little bit. There's no real reason to jungle this. That's how a lot of jungle tanks are. But if you wanted to jungle it and you wanted, like, your team was doing like a double tank kind of setup, and you know you didn't feel like the reason to put anything else on it, like, it's just kind of like, yeah, it's there. You could do it if you really want to. Ninetales. I'm going to be honest, you can jungle this. I have jungled this, but there's really no reason to. No reason at all. Like, again, while there's, like, almost no reason to jungle, like, say, these two, there's actually just no reason to jungle this character. It really just doesn't help, especially whenever you consider how strong this character is in lane. Makes no real sense. All right, as far as Talonflame goes, man, I almost want to put Talonflame at S tier jungler, but I think Talonflame is, like, the highest of A tier junglers. I really do believe that. This character is incredibly strong, gets a ton of value. The jungle role is where the character has to be, more or less, and it's incredibly strong. Slowbro, same thing as Mamoswine. Slowbro jungle, especially if you do what I like to do, where I do like a damage build, or just picking a second tank, it's not bad. You don't really get a crazy benefit out of it, except for maybe you could hit level 9 for, like, the first team fight. But yeah, you don't really need to do it. But again, off tank kind of, you know, teams, you know, if you're building a double defender team or something like that, could work, could be really interesting. All right, Mr. Mime. It's going to end up being the same thing for a lot of these characters. Some of these characters, it really, again, you really have no real strong reason to jungle them, but if you want to, you can put them in that position. Mime does good damage, has a pretty solid clear, and is pretty strong, but again, no real reason to do it is the problem. All right, Lucario. I feel like the irony about Lucario is that I'm putting Lucario in B tier just for the same reason I'm putting Sylveon in B tier. And it's not because this character is the same tier as the rest of these, but we're thinking about the viability of the role, right? There's no reason to run Lucario jungle over running, like, I don't know. This feels silly because I feel like if I put Lucario jungle here, it's like, bro, you're putting Lucario jungle in the same tier as Talonflame, but if I put it here, it's like, bro, you're putting Lucario in the same tier as, like, a bunch of tanks. Do you see my point? So, like, realistically, Lucario's, like, right here. It's in between. It's literally, and maybe I even should leave it like this. I don't know, because Lucario is definitely not as good a jungler as Talonflame, because Talonflame's, like, actually a good jungler. Lucario's just so good that he's an S tier laner that is, like, struggling to find, like, a weird position here. I'm actually going to put Lucario like that. Like, that's weird. I've never done that before, I don't think, but I'm doing it. So Greninja, A tier jungler, really strong, has a lot of carry potential, incredibly good. Just simple as that. Gengar. This is gonna sound crazy, right? This is gonna sound crazy, right? Because I think when you look at the jungle role, it makes sense to be like, well, duh, bro, Krashy, there's no way you actually think that Gengar is a worse jungler than Sylveon, Mamoswine, Slowbro, and Mr. Mime. And, you know, to a degree, I think you're right. There is no way. But at the same time, I would rather have any of these 4 characters on my team, 5 characters, than have a Gengar. So this is much more about Gengar's viability than it is about Gengar in the jungle. And I think I'm going to stick with this. This character's just not that good. It's unfortunate. Unfortunate. Gardevoir. I actually think Gardevoir kind of goes in this tier as well. The irony is that it's not because there's no reason to run it in jungle. It's just that the character's weak. So, like, the viability of the character is lower. But as far as, you know, I don't know. Maybe this just goes C tier above Gengar. I think it doesn't matter. Like, I put it at the end. I don't really organize them in a row anyways, because I just find that to be a little tedious. But Gardevoir's a pretty good jungler. You're going to get value out of jungle Gardevoir for sure. So that's where I'm going to put Gardevoir for now. Garchomp. Sad boy. Sad boy. It's a good jungler, but it's just not a good character. Same thing. Like, I mean, I think this was to be expected, right? This right here should be to be expected, to be honest. Eldegoss, there's really just no reason to do it. You have a laning heal, you're a support, you eventually get like a shield if you take that route. It just, again, it's really just like one of those things like, yeah, she can do it. I have done it. I've played a damage build on it, but there's not really a reason to do it. The early game heal is just wasted. Like, you just don't need to do it. As for Crustal, it's the same thing, right? Like, Crustal can jungle fine. You can come out of jungle with X's or Crustal and really make some crazy ganks happen and be a strong tank for the team. Like, I think that Crustal jungle is fine. I would rather have a Crustal. I would rather have, again, the B tier I would rather have than anything over the, like, these bottom tiers. I would rather have any of this. They're not great junglers per se, but yeah. As for Greedent, S tier jungler, the character is incredibly broken. If you put Greedent in the jungle, you get Lucario in top lane or Xero Aura in top lane. The character is just that broken that the character belongs there until it gets nerfed. Cram, you know, Cram realistically could probably skate this line. I'm not gonna lie, he probably could, but he's a better laner anyways. And if you're doing air/dive, well, then you're kind of like lowering your viability a little bit anyways. I don't know. My opinion of Cram is just like not great these days. I don't know why I'm reorganizing. Just feels weird not to have the two mages together. But yeah, Cram, there's really no reason to jungle it. I just don't think that you do it, you know? It's kind of where I'm at. As for Cinderace, S tier jungler, incredibly strong, gets ridiculous value. Yeah, it's really good. It's really, really good. Blastoise. You know, Blastoise, I think, might be a little bit stronger than some of these other tanks as far as the jungle role goes, because having Blastoise in the team is just strong. And then you would get like that level 9 ultimate potentially. So this would probably be really high up in this B tier list. But yeah, Blastoise, decent jungler, no problem. If you want to run an extra tank, you know, cool. You could definitely do it. Absol. Oh man, Absol's good, but Absol's not A tier good. So just for the sake of quick and easy presentation, I am going to put Absol at the top. Absol is the peakest, highest, you know, A tier pick. Absol's basically on this line as well, which maybe I should just do that. Let's just do that. Absol is absolutely on the line between A and B tier. It's the highest B tier possible. It is undeniably way better than all of these, but it's not enough. It's not, for the hierarchy and like for me building it out, I don't want to shift any of these down because I don't like that. Absol is the lowest of A tier and the highest of B tier in my opinion. Yeah. It's a good jungle. It's a really good jungle. It just can't quite keep up with these two, for sure. All right. After Absol, we have Charizard. I want to say the same thing about Charizard, but I actually think that Charizard's better, and I definitely think that Charizard's better than Absol. I think that Charizard is... Man, this is such an interesting position. Because Charizard is, in my opinion, definitely a better jungler than Absol. It's just so weird that I actually feel like Charizard might be A tier. Like, I'm actually struggling with that a little bit. I think that Charizard is incredibly strong. I think that Charizard might be, like, just shy of the same strength as Talonflame, but they bring strength differently, right? Like, Charizard doesn't have the best burst and gank potential, where Talonflame has incredible gank and burst potential, but Charizard has an insanely valuable ultimate, and Talonflame's ultimate is like, okay. So I think that Talonflame and Charizard might be on the same tier, actually. And then as far as Greninja goes, like, he's just very different, but I think that Charizard might be better than Greninja in jungle as well. They're just different, right? Very, very different. But I would definitely rather have a Charizard in jungle than a Lucario, because Lucario just shouldn't really be jungle, but can. And Absol, like, it just brings a really different kind of value too. But I do think that Charizard's better than Absol jungle. So yeah, I actually think that I'm putting Charizard jungle A tier, which is pretty crazy, because yeah, I'm looking at the list and he's definitely better than the B tier. Very, very interesting. I like that I did that. As for Pikachu jungle, I'm not gonna lie, I could see this. I could see B tier Pikachu jungle. I don't really think there's a huge reason to do it. And it's a lot like Sylveon. Like, we're at this point, you can kind of see the trend, right? 80 carries are really high tier junglers. Strong mages could be good junglers, and then like not as good mages are really immobile mages. Well, not even just immobile, because Pikachu's immobile, but Pikachu can get really strong. But like just the not as good characters tend to just like, there's no reason to. And yeah, I mean, the reality is I would rather have a Pikachu jungle than these two characters or any of these 5 characters. So it's really interesting that I feel that way, but it is true. Venusaur jungle can easily take an A tier spot. I don't feel like stacking this up like this. I don't think, anyways. I don't know. Venusaur jungle can definitely take an A tier spot. The character's great. You can run whatever build you want. Yeah, it's Venusaur. I mean, Venusaur's just a really, really solid attacker right now in the meta. And as far as jungle goes, I would definitely rather have it than, say, like a Pikachu. It brings a lot of very different value than, say, like an Absol. And like I said, I don't think Absol can really step into the A tier yet just because of the character itself. But Venusaur is very, very strong. As for Xero Aura, I do think that Xero Aura is an S tier jungler, and the reason why is just the character's end game potential, the fight potential. Once you hit the 8 and 10 power spikes for discharge and for the Unite move, it's crazy. I think it's like on the lower side of S tier because you're probably going to see more lane Xero Auras than you will see jungle. But as far as like solo queue goes, you're gonna like Xero Aura. You can't go wrong. You literally can't go wrong with this character. This character is insanely strong, and I think that it definitely deserves to see play like that. But for Wigglytuff, makes no sense to me. You don't need to do it. Ironically enough, and this is funny because the tier list is a little skewed because I would actually still rather have any of these 4 over these 2, but it just doesn't make sense to do it. These are just like, they're really, really bad. So it's kind of, like I said, part of this is a little flipped in a weird way because I wanted this tier to be like, just don't do it. There's not really a reason to. But again, ironically enough, I would rather jungle any of these characters over these 2 because they're just that bad in the meta. So that's kind of funny. Snorlax jungle, I'm not going to lie. If you're going Flareon Lax, it's not that bad. I would still rather have it to Gengar and Garchomp. So it is what it is, but this is mostly like a Flareon Lax because running Lax is like full tank in jungle, which doesn't really make that much sense. Yeah. Machamp is, that's Blissey, who we're going to go ahead and grab here, which I wasn't supposed to grab. But yeah, Blissey, just again, no real reason. The heal is wasted. It makes no sense. But Machamp, I'd say, is a pretty high B tier. I don't think that Machamp currently keeps up. Does Machamp keep up with Absol? I don't know. Machamp's like endgame is better, so maybe he deserves to be on this line too. But Machamp doesn't keep up with Charizard. I think he goes on the line, because going on the line right now just means you're at the highest of B tier. So that's kind of just how it looks. Yeah, I think Machamp goes here. Like Machamp, Absol, and Lucario, they're all great junglers, but Lucario, again, makes no sense to do it. Absol just falls off and can be incredibly strong, and Machamp is like good at all points in the game, just not this good, right? Like it's just not these characters right here. So this is kind of my tier list. I did this very, very different than before. I usually don't put like characters that I wouldn't jungle at all on here, and you can kind of see that the B tier is just like, it's just good characters that could jungle if you wanted to, but doesn't really make a lot of sense to throw them in there unless you're doing like a certain team comp. As for some of these like floating characters, they're obviously just incredibly strong and they're good and you can use them, but the A tier and the S tier, like these are junglers, right? Like you can get away with these junglers. I'd say anything on this line and above, really, really solid pick. So if you're watching this video looking for junglers to pick, this is what I would recommend. So as always, friends, drop me a comment. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know what would you shift around. I think this is where it's going to get controversial right here, because I genuinely am thinking about like, these are just like not great junglers, but they're good characters. These are like good junglers, but they're not good characters. So that's my thought process there. They just aren't good. So it sucks, but it is what it is. And as for these, you could jungle them, but just why? Really, why? Why jungle them? So friends, let me know what you think. Drop a like on the video if you're new to the channel. Subscribe. We'll have more Pokemon Unite content every single day. Streams just about every single day. And I would love to have you around. Be sure to be kind to one another. Tell someone that you love them. And I'll see you on the next video.